Hi, everybody. We're talking about weight loss during this webinar. How do we optimize our metabolism long term? How do we feel good? How do we actually restore our body to the vibrant state that we all want? So what's going on? Projections suggest that in Australia, 83% of men, 75% of women are going to be overweight or obese very, very soon. In America, it's even worse. I think the last statistic I saw said it was about 65% of Americans are now obese. Children are obese. If you look at schools, if you've got nieces and nephews, kids, fatty livers developing in kids, which was never seen before until quite recently. Type 2 diabetes. In America, they're spending trillions of dollars, and yet their life expectancy is going down. Many studies have shown if you just drop your weight by 5%, a ton of health parameters get better. And yet most people find it really hard to do. Why is fat bad? Well, it changes our hormones. It causes inflammation, so that's heart disease, strokes. There's a type of diabetes that some people call type 3 diabetes, which is essentially insulin resistance to the brain. That's what some researchers in Alzheimer's dementia are calling Alzheimer's now. It affects mood. There's studies that clearly say being overweight even a little bit dramatically increases the risk of pretty much every mental health problem there is. It affects our blood pressure. It affects our self-confidence. Essentially, it makes it harder to be active. It's a downward spiral. The more weight you have, the harder it is to move, the harder it is to be active and motivated. Sitting is the new smoking, they say. But essentially what we want to do is reverse this trend, because in every way you look at it, it's not good for us. Specifically, what's happening is hormonal dysregulation. Okay, so once the fat's there, the visceral fat around the belly, it changes our hormones. It changes our response to blood sugar with our insulin, our leptin, the way we feel full or hungry. All of these signals get completely messed up. We also know that hormones change. So the classic example is the man who's overweight starts getting man boobs. And then no matter what they eat, they seem to put on weight and just seem to be a big person from then on. What's happening is the hormones are actually changing from testosterone, which builds muscle, to estrogens, which are about storing calories, about putting on, large amounts of fat around the hips to help raise a baby, right? To be pregnant and give life to a new human being. But for a man, that's a major warning sign. Something is very wrong. Once that system is out of whack, it's difficult to just eat less or to move more. It doesn't work because the signals that control everything are out of whack. We also know that women who are overweight are at a much higher risk of being diagnosed with breast cancer because their hormones are affected too. The estrogens convert to bad forms of estrogen. Essentially, what's happening is the bad diet promotes testosterone, DHEA, androstenedione, these hormones to convert to the bad forms of estrogen. So they build up in women, causing high rates of breast cancer. In men, they get more DHT, which causes hair loss, prostate to enlarge, and all of those issues. We can intervene though at each of these steps. If we improve our high insulin by having more protein in the diet, repairing our insulin resistance, reversing that process, we will have more pregnenolone, good for the brain. We will have more testosterone, good for muscles and energy and libido, both in men and women. Less of the DHT, so less hair loss, prostate enlarging, those problems. Less of the female hormones for men, and for women, less of the bad forms of the estrogens, which we're concerned about because they can promote different diseases. It's also bad from a heart disease point of view. So eating fat isn't the problem per se. Cholesterol in the blood even isn't the problem per se. High sugar and high inflammation pushes the blood cholesterol into the cell membrane and causes these foam cells, basically atherosclerosis, the damaged plumbing of the body, heart disease, to occur. Now, what this is showing is if there's low inflammation, low TNF alpha, very little transcytosis occurs. So very little of this cholesterol goes into the cell membrane. When there's lots of inflammation, look at this huge increase in the amount of bad cholesterol depositing in the cell, in the arterial walls. So it's not as simple as, oh, cholesterol's bad. It's the damaged cholesterol. Now, I'll talk about this in another webinar about ways we can measure this and intervene about this specifically without drugs. But essentially, just for now, understand high blood sugar and toxins and a range of other things change the cholesterol to the bad version, the oxidized LDL, the damaged version of LDL. That then, with inflammation, gets pushed into the cell membrane, and that causes the narrowing of the blood vessels, heart disease, strokes, bad things. So is it our genes? People say, oh, I'm just so unlucky. I've got bad genes. Well, truthfully, pretty much every disease on earth is going through the roof right now. Everything from autism, allergies, dementia, cancer, everything. It's not our genes. Yes, there's genetic tendencies, but what's happening is the environment has changed. This is the epigenetics. The external and internal environment is changing our gene expression. The good news is we can reverse this trend. We can turn off those bad genes and turn back on these skinny genes again. So weight is determined by what you eat and drink, when you eat, how you eat, what happens to the food we eat. This is the microbiota, which I'll do a whole webinar on soon. But basically, the bacteria in our digestive tract, in our intestines, eats more or less calories. If your digestive bacteria are eating a lot of calories, you will absorb less. And it's very clear that people who are overweight have a different ecosystem, a different garden of these bacteria in their intestines than someone who's very skinny. We can modify that and we can measure it. Hormones tell the body what to do with the calories, to tell us when to stop eating. Stress has a big impact on our hormones, on our sleep, on our metabolism, and toxins. This is plastics, this is a whole bunch of different chemicals disrupting our equilibrium. Big picture, what we're doing with our program is we're restoring our metabolic health. We cut out refined foods, toxins as much as we can. We restore these signals the brain is trying to receive from the gut. We restore the gut, so we restore hunger regulation. We rebalance and optimize the hormones, so we improve our fat digestion and oxidation. And then naturally, without having to torture yourself, you will lose weight, feel more energized, and then it's a positive cycle. You'll naturally find the body wanting to move, so you do more exercise. That's how the body should work. What's really interesting is if you change the microbiome, you change weight. Okay, so this is a quick study, a little preview of the gut webinar. Obese and a skinny twin, humans, they had some poo donated from them to the lab, and the lab gave them to mice. Okay, so they got some bacteria via the microbiota, via the poo sample from the overweight human and their twin skinny person, right? Their sibling. They gave them to mice, fed this exact same calories, same little mouse wheel of exercise, same everything. The mouse who got the bacteria, got the poo from the obese twin, put on weight. The mouse who got the bacteria from the skinny twin lost weight. So this is why you know those people, right? Some people can eat whatever they want, 15 Big Macs, and they will be skinny as a rake. That's this mouse, right? Same in humans. Some people look at a stick of celery and put on weight. That's this mouse. Calories are the same. It's the bacteria that's changing things. What you eat matters. What I want you to do is focus on protein, cut back on carbohydrates like fruit and sugar and grain. Focus on nutrition. Give your body what it needs. Nourish it. Give it real food. One of the problems with the high carbohydrate diets most people are on these days is it damages our glycocalyx. So inside the plumbing system of the body, inside the arteries where the blood flows, you've actually got this hairy layer. So this is like you've sliced the tube in half and you're looking at it with the microscope. this hairy layer protects the cell membrane, protects the cell wall against damage. A high carb meal is like going in and just cutting down all the trees in the forest. So you end up with no protection. So then the tiniest little bit of high blood pressure, the little bit of oxidative LDL toxins, they get into the arterial wall and cause complete chaos, damage like you would not believe. It takes about 8 hours for this layer, this glycocalyx, to repair. The problem is, what's the typical person doing 8 hours later? They're having another high carb meal. And this goes on for years and years, and they have a heart attack, and everyone says, oh, you're so unlucky. Well, actually, no, it was preventable. And what we want to do is maintain these protective systems in the body. It's also going to improve, by eating this way, it's going to improve your calories that you're burning, your basal metabolic rate. So there was many studies to show this, but a recent study found if you just eat a low carbohydrate diet, you will dramatically improve your hormonal signaling. So you feel hunger signals more clearly, you feel full more, more correctly, and you'll burn more calories, even though you're eating the same amount of calories. If they're more protein balanced, you will burn more calories. Chrononutrition. When you eat matters. Sumo wrestlers skip breakfast. They have a massive lunch, massive dinner, and go straight to bed. Unless you want to look like this, you want to do the opposite. You want to have, this old saying, you want to eat like a king at breakfast, a prince at lunch, and then a pauper at dinner. Put another way, have most of your calories in the morning, a little bit at lunch, and very little at nighttime. A more practical approach is to have a high protein first meal of the day, whether that's lunch or breakfast, whatever time of day that is, have a high protein meal first. Then try and have a gap between dinner and bed of about 3 hours. That would be amazing if you can do that. The next level is to try and have a gap of 12 to 14 hours between dinner and breakfast if you're a woman, or 14 to 16 hours between dinner and breakfast if you're a man. That'll create a little bit of autophagy, it'll give you some mild ketosis benefits, and you'll still be able to eat what you want to eat. As long as you're focusing mostly on protein, that will work really well in starting to clear out the gunk, repair these systems. So what we want to do is avoid the refined foods, avoid the foods which the food industry has created to sell product, right? So the foods they sell, fast food particularly, it doesn't make you feel full for long, and it destroys all your signals telling you what to eat and when to eat. So eat real food. Eat high protein, less carbs. Start to think about other influences, toxins, stress, hormones, microbiome, the gut. And what will happen is these areas will synergize. We will repair your metabolism. You'll feel better. You'll have more energy, better mental state, better mood, concentration, and all the good things that come with that. We want to then continue that way for a bit longer to lock in that new normal. So that's your new normal. So there's no backsliding, right? Then we can talk about long-term, what's long-term sustainable, so that you can get away with most things and maintain that healthy metabolism. Once you've got your hunger signals and regulation of these hormone systems back to the optimal normal, you'll actually crave healthier food. It's really interesting. You stop craving sweet things as much. You actually are more in tune with what your body actually needs, not what the advertising or the messed up hormone systems are telling you. And that's a state of vibrant health when you're in harmony with your own metabolism. See you in the next webinar.